And alright guys, welcome back to another video on the David Hammond YouTube channel. Now in this one guys, we are speaking of something definitely a little more superficial, but nonetheless it is very serious, it's very deep, and this will genuinely improve your life in many areas as it has improved mine, and that is how to last longer in bed, okay? Now, yeah, you heard it, that's it. And yeah, it's a very serious thing, you know, we can kind of like look at it lighthearted and stuff like that, but no, man, I mean, you know, sex, guys, is something as primitive and important as food, as water, as sleep. They are vital aspects towards the natural human evolution, and I mean, it is probably the most vital aspect towards human evolution, right? It's the entire reason we're here, or a big part of it. So I wanted to explain to you guys some context with this. Now, I'm assuming most of you guys participate in NoFap, okay? Which I'm sure most of you are aware of what that is. If not, then you can search up other videos. And with NoFap, of course, with retaining your seed, you know, not constantly just wasting it through PMO, you naturally are building more of an influx, more of the energy within. And now what happens is like a dam, right? Of course, as we continue to build, or it's like filling up a bucket, right? Because we are filling up this well, we are not just continuously pouring out the well. When the opportunity arises to then execute this energy via sex or, you know, hooking up, girlfriend, whatever, of course, the dam is going to be much easier. What's the word? You're going to go nuts, essentially. That's what I'm saying. You know, if you've been holding back from eating that cookie, you've been on a diet, right? I used to be a men's physique competitor. You've been on like a serious diet, etc., only eating certain amounts of foods. When the time comes that you're able to eat these foods, well, of course, you can go bung-ho or gung-ho, whatever it is. I think I said the wrong one when you guys commented on that. So what do, okay? Or what's the issue with this? The issue with going gung-ho when the opportunity arises because we are retaining is that we can ejaculate or we can essentially last not very long in bed, and this is of course a massive long term and short term. It sucks. It's not going to be beneficial for yourself, for your woman. Like it's not going to be a good period. And I noticed I was definitely dealing with this in my earlier phases of doing NoFap. Okay, and it's not fun. It's like, David, it's like, I don't know why more people don't talk about this. It's like, David, I'm doing NoFap for weeks and months to enhance myself and then get with this woman, and then it's like as soon as you get with this woman, you last like a minute or two, and you're embarrassed. You're like, what's going on? What's the point of this? And then you enter this vicious cycle again. You're like, what's the point? So I got you guys covered. There is a solution, there is a resource to this, and that is something called, well, there are two things we're going to talk about, but let's revolve it around this. It's something called a Kehu, okay? Now, it's actually spelled Kegel, so Kegal, which is a little, essentially the practice is you have your pelvic floor, which is a tiny sphincter or muscle in between your gooch, essentially. So you have your scrotum and your anus, okay? I know this is sounding pretty graphic, but if you're a man, you understand this. There's a little tiny part right in between, essentially right behind your nutsack, right? Like I told you, your scrotum and your anus, right here. It's almost like a little sphincter. It's like a little gateway, you could say. Also known as your pelvic floor, okay? And what you do is you squeeze, which I'm doing right now. You flex and you squeeze and you bring up this pelvic floor, okay? It's a muscle. And of course, now to you guys, sorry, just playing with the mic. It's going to feel a little funny to you in the beginning. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel, and if you want practice right now, the next time you pee, okay, when you stop your pee, that's using your pelvic floor. That's using that sphincter. It's performing a Kehu, okay? That is the muscle that stops rushing from leaving your penis, right? So that's what it is. Now that we know that, and I want you guys to start practicing getting familiar like I'm doing now, do reps. Right, and hold it, learn to hold it. The reason you're going to do this, along with breathing and breath work, is this will enable you, just like pee, when you stop yourself from peeing, you use this muscle, the sphincter, to stop. It's the same thing with sperm. It's the same thing with ejaculating. You use this exact same muscle to refrain from just, you know, going nuts or lasting a minute or two, right? I mean, if you don't know how to control this dam, then essentially you are under the control of your body. You know, they say premature ejaculation is, you know, my definition, I believe the real definition of premature ejaculation is ejaculating any time that you are not in control, right? As crazy as that sounds. So a lot of guys, what they do is they just like hope, and I've been there, they just hope they last, you know, a couple minutes or 5 minutes or however long it is. And whenever they feel it, they're like, oh, well, it's going to come now. It's like, you should be able to control that. And what if I told you that you can control that? In fact, you can you can greatly control this to a much longer degree. You can last 3, 4, 5 times as long. You know, instead of a couple minutes, or if it's, 5 minutes, you can last double, triple. Like, I'm not saying, I'm not saying hold it in forever, and it's not going to be fun to do that, but like, you can greatly change the pace and duration by utilizing Kihu and breath work. So that's what it is. It's learning to utilize your pelvic floor, or the muscle, the sphincter, in between. Again, I told you your anus and your nutsack. It's a tiny sphincter. All men have it. Practice flexing it. That's what I'm doing right now. Look, guys, if it sounds silly to you, you got to grow up. Like, I'm trying to help you guys out. Okay? So here's what you do. The next time you are having sex, or maybe if you masturbate, you can practice doing that. Of course, you're doing no fap, so you probably don't do that. The next time you have sex, I want you to, while you're doing it, a big misconception most people make is they're like, oh, when I'm about to, not that's when I should practice and squeeze this sphincter to not allow anything to leave. And that's no, that is wrong. That's almost like the Men's Physique show, like I told you guys. That's almost like eating whatever you want for fucking, I don't know, 8 to 12 weeks, and then the last week beforehand, like, it's like, okay, now I should start eating clean, and expecting that to help. Like, can that work? It could, but like, there's a very low chance. What you actually want to do is you want to practice this Kihu throughout the entire time. So the duration of the Men's Physique prep, the duration of the diet or the fat loss phase, from week 1 to week 12, or week 1 to week 8. So right when you start having sex to the very end, you want to be consciously flexing, bringing, breathing. And really what's happening, guys, what you need to understand is that what this is doing, because I want to explain this in a nutshell. You guys can do your own research if you don't believe me, is essentially, with your sperm and everything down here, the lower chakras, energy, just you don't have to get esoteric with this, but the bundle of energy is down here. Okay, of course, like, it's where your test is, it's where your sperm is, everything's down there. What you are doing is similar to sexual transmutation. You are allowing this energy to just move freely throughout your body, right? You can also actually experience full body orgasms this way, which I have yet to 100% experience yet, because I'm not at that level yet. To an extent, but I'm not at that level yet. I'm being completely honest with you guys. But what you're doing is you are transmutating this energy from down here, instead of letting it, because you guys got to think, if you just allow this sperm or this energy to just be balled up down here, you're going to release it like that. It's very easy, but it's a lot harder to release that when it is much more free-flowing throughout your entire body. If it's free-flowing, you can pretty much last however you want, because it's all over, right? And then when you choose, crazy enough, don't believe me. You can believe me, you don't believe me. And the reason I look here is because my screen's here. Let's say you're using the Kihu, and the energy is free flowing. You're controlling it. It's deep. You're breathing well. That's the next thing, is we're going to speak about just breathing, breath work, deep breaths. A lot of you guys don't breathe, and that's why you're keeping the energy just it's like taking very shallow breaths. It's like with any emotion, anger, anything. Like, of course, I mean, you look at people when they fight or they get into, they're arguing. They're taking very short, shallow breaths. You motherfucker, and then they explode. They fight. They punch. They run. Right? Where you'll very rarely see a fighter or someone in a confrontation taking deep breaths. Just want to make sure this isn't too bright. There we go. Right? So, what was I saying? And like I was saying, what's very interesting is what you can actually do is, once you're ready to ejaculate or orgasm, you can then bring the energy back down, right? Narrow it back down, and then disseminate it. Ejaculate. There you go. Right? It's almost like fighting, right? You can choose to bring your aggression to, I'm not a fighter. I box a bit, but like, you can choose when you want to fight, right? You can choose when you want to fight. Of course, that's obvious. When you can choose when you want to breathe, listen, right? So, bringing it full circle, you're going to want to do something called Kihu, which is flexing your pelvic floor, okay? The tiny muscle. Search this up if you want to, how to do it. It's very simple, though. Go pee, and when you stop peeing, so right when you stop, notice what muscle you squeeze, because it's subconscious. You're not going to know you're doing it. Notice what muscle you squeeze, and start squeezing that. Flex. Hold it for like 5 seconds. Let go. 5 seconds. Let go. Okay? Sounds funny. The next thing you're going to want to do is, that's like cutting off the dam. That's like blocking the dam from leaving. The next thing you're going to want to do is, because you don't want it to just block. Blocking the dam's only one thing, because you can only block it so much. Eventually, if the dam's coming, it's going to break the barrier. You want to begin to breathe and circulate this energy. So instead of it just hitting the dam, your pelvic floor, it is now circulating throughout your entire body. So it's moving all around, it's chilling, and this is through breathing. This is through almost imagining, what I do is like a diagram. You can picture it in your head of the energy below, and you're breathing, and you're almost pushing it up your body. Now, is the energy actually, or is the sperm actually like going throughout your entire body? I don't know. Maybe not. I haven't done that much research yet. But if you can imagine and feel, because the energy definitely does move through your body. I believe sperm stays in your scrotum. I don't think that's moving, but if you can just imagine the energy like a river just flowing through your body, that really helps. It's like a mental cue. So you're breathing. You practice the Kihu. So you flex. Instead of just allowing it to pass, you flex and you breathe. So what you're doing is this is like your insurance, and you're breathing and you're allowing it to move. And then you can continue to have sex for pretty much as long as you want. And then when you feel ready, you want to, then you disseminate. You open up the Kihu, right? Or you stop and you just focus your energy and you're good to go. And you live happily ever after. Now I want to make it full disclosure to you guys. Sometimes it's easier said than done, and like even myself, like sometimes if I haven't gone for like a while, like a few weeks or whatever, and I'm just pent up, you know, sometimes I'm getting better at it, guys. It takes practice, man. I've been practicing this for almost like probably a year and a half now. Sometimes I'll want to last longer, but you know, I'll forget. I'll be like, fuck this, and I'll forget. I get too excited and we go nuts. The best thing to bring it full circle is to try to stay calm and breathe and stay grounded, because you want to treat it like you're eating a really good dessert or piece of pie or something like that, right? This dessert, is it amazing? Yeah, it's great. But you want to control yourself, right? Because it's only when we become repressed that we go nuts, right? It's like I said, I've been there, man. I've done physique shows and I've gained so much weight afterwards. I've had binge eating. Like, anyway, David Hammond Fitness channel, you can follow that. You know, if you treat this dessert like it's the best thing ever, what do? You binge. You literally can't even control yourself, and you just eat the whole pie, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? Where if you can breathe and moderate yourself and say, you know what, this pie is amazing, but I'm all right. I'm breathing. You're gonna eat with much more consciousness. You'll eat less, because you'll realize there's no need to rush it. Well, it's the same thing with sex. You want to treat it as such, where it's like, yeah, it's amazing, it's awesome, but it's an everyday normal thing. This is expected. You guys got to stop putting sex on a pedestal. I know, easier said than done. So you begin to breathe. You take your time. You're not like a lot of you guys are just rushing it, and you're just it's literally biological. It's like the food where you're just consuming. You're just pumping. You gotta chill out. Chill out, breathe, practice the Kihu, take your time, and it'll be much more enjoyable for you and your partner, just like food, right? Food's so much more enjoyable when you take your time. You know, I'm a fast eater, so I need to learn how to do this too, but yeah, that's that, guys. I'm sorry if it looks like I hunch sometimes. I don't want to be out of the frame. Maybe I should start just sitting right up like this. Yeah. So, that is that, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Bit of a longer video, but yeah, I really know this will help, so practice it, especially if you guys are doing nofap. You're going to need this in your arsenal. If you're not doing nofap, you don't really need this, because you're wasting so much that like when the time, I mean, no, everyone needs this, all of us. Wow, it's getting bright. Right. It's getting bright, so I'm going to finish it there. There we go. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I love you all. Thank you so much. There's always self-development coaching down below if you guys want to work with me on a more personal level, as well as the self-development course. So whether you want to improve your health, relationships, find your passion, and be able to serve it to the world, you guys can find out everything down below. Ton of value for an amazing price for what you're getting. And that's it. Love you guys. Practice this. It takes practice. It takes practice. So practice it. Just like any other muscle you train in the gym. The Kihu is no different. It takes years. It takes months, guys. You got to practice. Be patient, okay? And you too will become a sex master god. That's it. Much love. Till then, peace.